Hello and welcome to my map review. This is for Simulation Protocol 3 Entropy. Before we start, because I have to do this little disclaimery thing, these are my opinions. You might have different opinions, and that is fine. The world would be extremely boring if everybody thought exactly the same thing. So, yeah, you might think differently. That's fine, just don't complain at me about it. Right, so same marking system which I used for TJ's map. If you watched that, you already know what I'm going to be doing. If you haven't, I'll run through it again. Okay, so we've got a bunch of different things here. I'm going to be giving each of them a score out of either 10 or out of 5 for a total mark out of 50. We have aesthetics, which is how nice everything looks. We have mob variation, which is how nice all the mobs look, whether they fit the area they're in, how different they are from vanilla, how interesting they are. Loot variation, similar thing but for loot. Balance and difficulty curve, which is fairly self-explanatory again. Map should be getting harder as it goes on, but without mob spam. With loot appropriate for the difficulty of the area. Fairness. This is whether things are tutorialized properly. Not with words, but with, like, if you have a mob and it's custom, then you should be introduced to it in a fairly safe area first, so that you know what it does, before the pressure then starts ramping up and it gets used in vaster numbers or in more difficult terrain, and traps are shown to you. Area mechanics. Are there unique mechanics in areas or the entire map? Are they unique? I've seen them before, which kind of collides with originality, but we'll get to that in a minute. Implementation of mechanics, that's then how well the previous mechanics work, whether they fit the map, whether the command blocks are programmed correctly, so there's no bugs, and then originality, which again, self-explanatory-ish. Is there anything different I haven't seen before, or is it the same old that we've seen a billion times before? Alright, so difficulty and length first, because those don't impact the total score. Difficulty, I'm going to say, is a 5. I think this is a fairly easy map. I died 19 times, I think, is my total death count. Which, if you ignore the 9 or so times I died in Titan Vale to fall damage and stupid things were just walking back and forth, is less than 1 death per area. So, pretty easy map. They're using wither skeletons at the end as like an end game mob, which isn't that bad. The Vindicators and Evokers are of course difficult, but then you got great stuff by that point, so they're not too bad. Length 9. Why isn't this a 10? Well, a couple of reasons. First, it's not a 16 wall map, it's 15. You've got some walls like light blue, which is already on the monument. You don't have to do anything for light blue. You've got stuff like cyan, which is weird. I'm going to be talking about cyan quite a lot. And you've got stuff like, oh, I don't know. What other areas aren't that long? The catacombs aren't that long either, really, are they? The area before cyan. Anyway, but then again, you don't have the whole 1 area 2 wall thing that some maps like, say, Ragecraft 3 have. So, it's very long, but I've seen longer. Aesthetics are a 10, and I shouldn't even need to explain that. It's fairly self-explanatory. It's the nicest looking map we've seen in a very long time. Well, let's say ever. Possibly ever. Some of the areas look lovely. I shouldn't need to explain a thing. Observation is a 5. I had a little bit of trickiness with this, because there aren't many custom mobs. There's no creepers that explode and drop a whole bunch of potions on you. There's no whatever weird stuff is there. The stuff enemies that spawn other enemies, like the stuff in Originality 3 before Evokers existed. You have those things that spawned other enemies. So there's not much custom here. But basically all the vanilla mobs are in here. We've had Guardians, we've had Vex, we've had Vindicators, we've had Evokers, we've had the Wither Skeletons, Sewerfish, Endermites, Ghasts, Blazes, blah blah blah, you name it, we've had it. So, I'm still wasn't sure whether to give this a 4 or a 5. I've gone for a 5. It could be either way. If I did decimal points, which I'm not going to because that would complicate things further, it would probably be a 4.5. The variation is a 4. There's relatively little loot in the early areas, but this is fully intentional. This map is based on Dark Souls quite heavily, so I have never played any of the Dark Souls games. I cannot really much comment on that. But it's supposed to be atmospheric and difficult. This map isn't particularly difficult, but CTM as a whole is known as the Dark Souls of the Minecraft world. Yeah. Too much loot in late areas. We've got a loot balance issue here. I hear that this has been sorted a little bit in later versions of the map. It's taken some of the loot at the end out. That makes sense to me. But I can really only review this version which I've played, so... The thing that annoys me most, and the real reason why this isn't a 5, is the empty chests. I detest empty chests. Because they reek of unprofessionalism, they reek of someone hasn't play-tested the map properly. So, I found about 5 empty chests. If it was 1 or 2, yeah, you've missed a spot, oh hum. When you got quite so many, it annoys me. And then you got the things like the pits where you have a chest and your reward is 6 pieces of charcoal and 10 sticks. And you've wasted about 20 torches going down into that pit and lighting the place up in the first place to secure that chest. So your reward for clearing out that pit is 20 torches. Which isn't worth it. So stuff like that as well is why that isn't a 5. The balance is the worst thing. The late game is too easy. The early game is harder than some of the late game. This is the problem which apparently occurs quite a bit. I've been reading through the SP3 spoiler Discord now that I've finished the map. I think this is a relatively common sentiment about this map. The late game is too easy. Cyan again is weird. Cyan's very interesting because it's stupidly easy, but I think that's the intent. It's designed to be atmospheric and creepy and spooky, and it was. And constantly, I've commented this on one of my videos. I thought there would be a trap. I thought I was going to take the wool. The entire place was going to explode. There'll be custom mobs suddenly appearing everywhere, and I'd have to make a Indiana Jones being chased by a giant boulder escape from the place. Nothing happened. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because the main atmospheric bit is the tension you feel, rather than the activation of the non-existent trap. But it's weird. I don't know whether or not I like Cyan. I think I do. But it lowers some scores and raises other scores, and it's just a very interesting and odd thing to deal with. And then we've got the cows and the sheep. I think that might be a bit of a difficulty spike. I think that is harder than some of the areas before it and after it. I'm not certain, because you can kind of dodge them. You can kind of just walk around, use water, push things out of the way, take alternate paths, use some ender pearls maybe. But I need to watch more people play through that area, because I can't get a clear read of how difficult it is. And I think it might be a difficulty spike, but I can't be certain. So anyway, generally I think the balance is kind of wacky, with the late game being easier than the early game. So 3. But it was fair. There's traps only in one area, and it's clearly forewarned up right at the start. You get a tripwire potion dispenser thing, which, unless you're extremely bad, is never going to kill you, and warns that there's going to be traps in the area. So then you can try and avoid them, look out for other tripwires, etc. Same thing. There's no traps you can't dodge. And all mobs are introduced to a relatively safe environment first, apart from the exception, which I just mentioned, of the exploding cows, sheep. Which again, if I did decimal points, is probably be a 4.5 because of that. But then again, any player who's played enough CTM maps is going to know immediately upon seeing them, as I did, something's not right here. You don't have cow and sheep spawners without some kind of funniness going on. There's gonna be something. It's not gonna be what it looks like. So, yeah. That's why it's not that bad. That's why it's a 5 and not a 4. It's over the edge of the 4.5, closer to the 5. Area mechanics. There aren't that many area-specific mechanics, really. There's again, the same thing with the sheep. Cows exploding, blah blah blah. But we've got map-wide mechanics. We've got the trinkets, we've got the locked doors. But even so, you get to the point where you're playing through brown and green, and it feels exactly the same as the previous area, where you're just running through and you're killing things, and there's no distinctive thing, apart from the aesthetics, which are beautiful throughout, of course, that makes it feel any different from any other generic area X, Y, Z in any map you can think of. So there's... yeah, that's where it's not a 5. But the trinkets are very nice. That's something you don't see all that often. Or at all. Okay, I've seen other maps that did that. Did Simulation Protocol 2 do that? I think it might have done. I think it might have done something similar. But the implementation... Again, this is an interesting one, because for this version, stuff is broken. We had the locked door that didn't open, even when you got the right key. You got that one trinket which just didn't work, the increased speed and reduced health thing. But I hear they've all been fixed. I've seen the changelog, which went out something like episode 6. All the way back then we had a new version come out. So that stuff is fixed. I've heard from the comments that stuff has been fixed. I've heard from the spoiler chat that stuff has been fixed. So, despite stuff being broken in this version, I can't mark anything down, because it's all been fixed already. So it's fine. Originality, yes, basically. The word yes summarizes originality. It's an open world linear map. I think that was the original description as well, and that is what I would class it as too. I agree with that description. That is an extremely rare classification. When I first heard open world linear, I was like, what? How do you have an open world linear map? But this is one of them. The map is linear, areas continue on from one another, it's fairly easy to find the next area, apart from if you're looking for brown and you're a complete idiot and buffoon and you move on to green without doing brown, but that's just me being a derp and not any fault of the map. You're not going to struggle with finding the next area. If you go down all the paths and explore properly. Same with the wool. Apparently some people have had problems finding the objectives. I'm not sure how you can miss them, to be perfectly honest. Provided you follow all the paths properly, there's none of them hidden behind walls or vines or in tiny little caves. There's that one side area I missed with the aforementioned broken trinket in it, which is kind of hidden. But then there wasn't an objective in that area, so it's perfectly fine. So I don't know how people got lost and then couldn't find objectives, and it seemed fine to me. That resource pack is a thing, those are still currently rare and becoming common. But on to this extent and the whole custom items thing, the only other place that's used that is Monumenta. We've got a custom skybox. As far as I'm aware, this is the first map to use custom skyboxes. We've got a devcom at the end. As far as I'm aware, it's the first map to have a devcom at the end. And again, we've got a cyan, which bumps down the this thing, bumps up originality. Because as much as it interferes with the balance, I see what's going on here. It's very original. We've not had before, I can think of, an area where it's just, alright, now you've got some exposition / atmospheric time. It's not supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be storytelling. And to that extent, it does its job very well. Speaking of the story, there is one. I didn't follow it very well. Again, this is harking back to Dark Souls and that kind of thing. I hear the plot is very opaque. There's a plot, but you have to look for it. You have to be looking at little things, and I hear Dead Cells has done the same thing as well. Where if you really want to do plot, and you want to try and make theories, and you want to find out about the world, you can. But it's not going to just throw the story at you like, say, the Painter does. Which is the Sketches map, which has a story which is told through signs. And it's very clear what's going on. This map isn't. But that's intentional, and it's original. So, total score out of 50, therefore we have lost 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, that is it. So this is a 46 out of 50. And the map deserves it. It's a very good map. It is. Is it as good as Simulation Protocol 2? Is a matter of personal opinion, I think. Personally, I think I prefer Simulation Protocol 2. But that's just because this style of loot variation, where you've got limited loot, I don't particularly like as much as just lots of loot. It's my personal preference, but it's fine. The aesthetic style of dark and gloomy, and that isn't my personal favourite either, but it's fine. So yeah, I think Simulation Protocol 2 is better, but it's just because I prefer the slightly less dark and the slightly more items and the slightly more traditional feel. But this map is perfectly fine as well. It's good. The other things to compare it to, Ragecraft 3 maybe? It's that same kind of level. It's the very, very top tier, top 10 maps of all time, kind of up there. very good map. So yeah, where would I place this on a top 10 list of maps anyway? What would be above this? Simulation Protocol 2, I just said. Ragecraft 3, Ragecraft 2. What else would come above this? Can't think of anything. I think I would put both Myriad Caves and Chrono Trials below this. But only slightly. Actually with Chrono Trials, that's kind of like maybe like 6th place, 5th place. Anyway, I think this might be 4th on a top 10 list. So yeah, I love it. It's a very good map. And that's it. I don't think I've got anything else to say about it. Oh yeah, advancements. Those are broken as well. That gets into this section of stuff which is currently broken, but I fully anticipate is going to be fixed already. The advancements don't work. I had a little look in the files at what the because there was the story ones, and then there was like the other ones, and none of the other ones unlocked. And I had a little look in the files, and it was stuff like open all the locked doors and find your first trinket and unlock all of the teleportation pads and stuff like that, which you're just going to get thrown at you during the course of playing the map normally. So they're not really challenges at all, really. You're not doing anything else differently to complete them. They may as well not exist. But they're the kind of stuff which makes you feel like, way, I'm progressing. So whether or not they exist, it doesn't really matter. Though I'm sure, based on the main storyline advancements, that they will have custom icons, and all of the custom icons look exceedingly pretty. Because of all the custom icons for the storyline advancements, it looked exceedingly pretty. Yeah, and that was the last thing. I cannot think of anything else to say, so that'll be it. 46 out of 50. Again, opinions. If you think it's high, if you think it's low, that's fine. Feel free to leave a comment down in that description with what you thought of the map. If you played it. What score you would give it, well, you'll put it on your top 10 list. I would be interested to know how good I am with public opinion when it comes to scoring. And I shall leave it off here. So, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you soon.